House Audio presents the unabridged recording of The Last Thing She Ever Did by Gregg Olsen, performed by Karen Peaks. "20 years ago. Beetles never stop. They gnaw silently and relentlessly. Guilt is like that too. Less than 2 hours from Bend, Oregon, Diamond Lake is a spectacular sapphire blue, with a tawny shoreline ringed by ponderosa pines. The pines there struggled to survive against the scourge of a plague of unseen beetles that insidiously burrowed through the bark and into the cambium, a tree's growth layer where the rings in the trunk are formed. For years the attack by the tiny army went unnoticed, picking away, weakening a once mighty stand of timber until the trees began to slump into deadfall. A slow, quiet death, unseen, until it was all too late. For Liz Camden, too late happened when she was only 9. Shards of memory returned every time she passed the sign indicating the turnoff to the lake. Liz was always a passenger when this occurred, because she never, ever drove that route on her own. It was a pact she made with herself, a way out of remembering all of it and preventing the splintery, jagged pieces from stabbing at her. Whenever they did, despite her best efforts to forget, the memories assembled themselves into a cracked mirror, and it all returned. Liz's mother, Bonnie Camden, and neighbor, Miranda Miller, planned a day trip to shop in Portland, 3 hours from Bend. Liz's father, Brian, was away on business, though due home that night. Miranda's husband, Dan, a doctor with a thriving practice in town, had been looking for an excuse to take out his new boat while the women were off spending all of our hard-earned money on diamonds and furs. It was a joke, of course. Dan was always one to exaggerate Miranda's spendthrift ways and trumpet his own frugality, except for that boat. He'd wanted one for years. He'd sit on the deck overlooking the Deschutes River and roll his eyes at the tubers who passed by. He wanted a boat with an outboard motor. Why float when you could command the water with an engine's roar? "For fishing," Liz remembered Dan telling Miranda when the Camdens were over to celebrate the end of the summer. "You can fish from the shore like everyone else," Miranda said. She could always deliver a deadpan line. She had a knack for it. Or she could make her...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?